All right, folks, let's start here. Breaking news coming out of Mar-a-Lago. Quote, unquote, huge explosion reported by Axios. Where did it occur? Well, some are suspecting it was during a dining event in which Elon Musk was in attendance, along with this man who will take the center focus in this story. However, there is conflicting reports on this story. I'm going to cover both sides of the conversation, and it may go to paint what actually occurred. And that's the story I'll bring you here in just 1 minute. All right, before we get to the headline story, I keep you up to speed on all the moving parts of the future Trump administration. He has now appointed Sean Duffy, representative out of Wisconsin, to be Secretary of Transportation. Sean doesn't have a long way to go to outperform Mayor Pete, who's done a miserable job during his tenure, of course, taking paternity leave. And now Sean Duffy coming in, father of 9, to take his position, known to be able to work on both sides of the aisle, which could benefit the Trump administration. We'll give you more news as it becomes available. Remembering, Sean Duffy was a Fox News host and also real-world reality star. Not that that makes a freaking difference, but people tend to report it, so I'll make sure I bring it to you. Those who choose to report it, those who, are down in ratings, collapsing ratings. Joy Reid, Chris Hayes, Morning Joe Scarborough. What's happening? People aren't listening. The curtain's been pulled back. They realize they've been manipulated by the mainstream media, that they weren't bringing appropriate sound bites. But what happens when Trump gets elected? Well, Joe Scarborough, Micah Brzezinski decide to backpedal. They call a meeting with Trump. But what happens here is Megyn Kelly gives one of the best reactions, a very accurate reaction to what these two just did.
Be constructive. As for us, we also let him know that we will continue to speak truth to power and push back hard when called for.
Oh, please.
As we have with all presidents.
Don't be mistaken. We're not here to defend or normalize Donald Trump. We're here to report on him.
I searched for a way to respond appropriately, and I called on my 10 years as a litigator in addition to my now 20 as a journalist, and I think I found the perfect phrase: go f*** yourselves. Go f*** yourselves, you dishonest jokes of faux journalists.
I couldn't have thought of a better reaction. All they are doing is backpedaling to protect their careers. It has nothing to do with the news. It has nothing to do with Donald J. Trump, but everybody's backpedaling now, aren't they? I hope you've been keeping up with the headlines. There's been a multitude of headlines coming out of Arizona. The Attorney General drops the investigation into Trump about his comments about Cheney and guns and a firing line that was taken out of context, so there was no case to begin with. But of course, the mainstream media will have you forget that, right? Okay, stop everything. Because if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Just want to take a quick pause, remind you to do that. Your comments are always appreciated. If you want to support me, there's a means of doing it here, or simply go to Restricted Republic, where guess what? I just don't ask for donations. Lisa Haven and me give you more news every day. The news you can't find anywhere else right yet now. Use discount code Independence monthly checkout, $4 a month for 2 years. Cancel anytime, plus 14 days for free. We can't make it any easier for you to find your number one source for news that's audience funded. No commercials, no interruptions, no sponsors, beholden to no one but you. Get to restrictedrepublic.com today. But now let's get back to this story. Everybody's scrambling. Everybody's cutting back because the curtain's been pulled back. AP announcing buyouts and layoffs, seeks to cut its workforce by 8% because America is awakening to the lies. Even the DNC cutting their own staff. No severance whatsoever. Of course, their staff coming back at them. And this is important because it goes to frame in our centerpiece story. Because the Democrats are in disarray. They're destroying each other. As a union member and DNC member, I'm pretty appalled by the treatment of staff, layoffs within a day's notice, and no severance. This isn't how we uphold our values. Respect for labor must begin at home, and the labor union spoke out. A betrayal of party values, they stated. No severance, no communication, no respect for workers, and certainly not for democratic values. The DNC has blindsided employees and violated the standards we set for ourselves as Democrats, which means where the money, right? They're just stating it out loud. I'm not going to shed a tear over this one. Fannie Willis, or Fani Willis, depending on how you want to announce it. The Georgia Court of Appeals has abruptly canceled oral arguments in the Fannie Willis Trump RICO disqualification appeal. It appears everybody's scrambling. They're nervous. They're lawyering up. Well, not these folks yet, but those within the Department of Justice and FBI are. DOJ and FBI officials coming out of NBC News reach out to lawyers as potential Trump revenge prosecutions loom near. Multiple current and former senior Justice Department and FBI officials have begun reaching out to lawyers in anticipation of being criminally investigated by the Trump administration, according to 3 people with knowledge of their deliberations. What are they so nervous about? Matt Gaetz. If you had nothing to hide, what would you be nervous about? Don't pretend that Trump is going to be unethical in his treatment of you. He won't be. He'll be heavy-handed, but fair. But you're still concerned about that, aren't you? It's why so many have said lawyer up, because you know your indiscretions, you know what you've done, you know the witch hunt you put upon the man. And so I am positive there is plenty of perfectly ethical and legal information that's going to get a lot of people in a lot of trouble, because the line has been drawn in the sand. Unfortunately, now when the Democrats are in such disarray, the DOJ and FBI are lawyering up. The mainstream media is falling apart because the curtain's been called back. What do they have to do? They have to shift focus. They have to make it appear that the Republicans are divided. Now, in some ways, they are. Mitch McConnell coming out. Of course, Jane Meyer out of New Yorker, deleting this text. But she stated, message to Trump team, there will be no recess appointment. Senator Mitch McConnell said tonight at a Washington gathering, except, Mitch, you're no longer Senate Majority Leader. And why did she have to pull it down? Did it slip out? Appears a lot of things are slipping out. McConnell is no longer the Senate GOP leader. Mike Lee stating that accurately so. Of course, the response was easy from Rick Scott. Yes, there will be. There will be some dissension in the ranks of the Republicans, make no question of that. The mandate that Trump's been given will scare many of those who call themselves a Republican but are not, of course. And we'll see this divide continue and propagate, especially with the initiatives he's going after. Mass deportation to be one that will take center focus in everything we'll be discussing, because the Democrats will lose their mind over this. Tom Fitton coming out. Good news reports are the incoming real Donald Trump administration is prepared to declare a national emergency and will use military assets to reverse the Biden invasion through a mass deportation program. The mainstream media's heads explode. Arizona's governor even coming out against it. So many governors saying they're going to come out against it. Tom Homan saying that ain't going to happen, folks. We'll do it with or without you. But without Trump's confirmation, none of it's true. And, well, there it is. True. So you can prepare, according to all accounts, for a national emergency to be declared to resolve our border crisis. And, my friends, it is a national emergency. But remember, with all this happening, the left has to deflect back to the right to show that there's disarray within the ranks. And there is convenient stories out there. Unfortunately, to aid in convenient stories, there is leakers within the Trump team. Defense pick Pete Hegseth paid accusers but denies sexual assault, attorney says. The problem was that was a conversation within the inner circle of the Trump ranks. WAPO broke it. Many others broke the news. Vanity Fair took off with it. Trump's defense secretary Pete Hegseth said to face previous sexual misconduct allegations. But how did they know? Well, there was unnamed sources. One of the sources said the alleged incident took place in Monterey, California in 2017. A source with knowledge of the meeting between, according to the transition source, the allegation is serious enough that Wiles and Trump lawyers spoke to Hegseth about it on Thursday. And so this has caused a lot of tension. At least they want you to believe tension within the Trump ranks. Remember, Trump also knows how to manipulate the media. But it boils down to this huge explosion that occurred within Mar-a-Lago. An article published by Axios. It started with Elon Musk and the man on your screen. If you're not familiar with him, that's okay. Some aren't. He was on Trump's legal team through, well, most of his New York trials. The Trump lawyer who wields outsized influence on the next White House. Boris Epstein has quickly become one of the most powerful figures in the early days of the presidential transition. So what better story than to create a huge explosion at Mar-a-Lago between two of the most influential members of Trump's team, Elon Musk and Boris Epstein. And that is specifically what Axios did. Musk's top Trump advisor clashed over cabinet picks. Elon Musk has quickly become an influential figure in President-elect Trump's inner circle. No crap. But there's a sign of tension between Musk and a longtime Trump advisor over cabinet appointments to the new administration, making it appear Elon wants one and Boris wants another. The friction between Musk and Boris, the top advisor, work push cabinet for picks that include Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, surfaced in public last week. It signaled a rivalry stemming from Musk's growing influence on the president-elect to the dismay of some Trump loyalists. Musk, who fueled Trump's election efforts, that's an understatement, and giving at least $119 billion, is questioned whether Epstein had too much influence in Trump's elections. Are we so sure about that? Who's telling you that? How are you getting that information? Is there going to be some jockeying? Absolutely. That's normal with these picks. And the one that it's all going to boil down to is the Treasury, which Elon Musk will take particular interest in, obviously. They know that, and so they isolate that to this story. At the same time, Musk has begun to push for his own cabinet favorites, but zooming in, like how Axios does this. The rocky relationship came to a head last Wednesday during a heated discussion at a dinner table in front of other guests at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club. 3 people familiar with the episode told Axios. Unnamed sources once again. At one point during what the sources described as a massive blowup and a huge explosion, quote unquote, Musk accused Epstein of leaking details of Trump's transition, including personnel picks to the media, and allegedly a monster argument ensues. The Trump team is in disarray. You see, don't look at us, the Democrats. Trump's got a disaster on his hands. Well, you could take that and run with it, or you could do the research like we do here. New York Post coming out, source denies Elon Musk had massive blow up with Trump advisor Boris Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. You see how it changes? People familiar with both Elon and Boris unequivocally state that the whole story is complete and total nonsense, which Axios is known for. The two have been working together very well, and both are focused on assisting President Trump in making America great again. You see how you can take a seed of contention, potential contention that doesn't even exist, and weave it into a story through unknown sources and make it appear that Trump and Elon Musk are at odds. At least the advisors are at odds. It's not us. Don't look at us. Look at them. Democrats do it all the time. Let's make it appear what's happening to us either Trump is doing or is happening to him. There will be contention over the Treasury Secretary, no question of that. Elon Musk is very strongly on the side of Howard Lutnick. Many others aren't. Most in mainstream media know that. So what a better way to weave a tale, as they've had through this entire election cycle, to make it appear the ranks are dividing in the Trump camp, rather than focus on the Democrats, who fear their party isn't just damaged, it's broken. Don't believe everything you read. Come here, let me round it off for you and give you the full set of knowledge so we can make our own determinations as the stories move forward. I love you all. Can't thank you enough for being here today. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.